I'm Iona. I'm a hopeless romantic and an avid reader. Recently, I've been getting lost in historical romances from Harlequin Historical, your romantic escape to the past. However, historical romance wasn't just strolling along the promenade and saucy scandal. Here are 5 things you maybe did not know about romance in the past. Easter time was the season for young English girls of suitable ages and backgrounds to come out as marriageable women at debutante balls. The season was deemed closed after the glorious 12th, the 12th of August, which was the beginning of the shooting season for grouse. If they didn't make a match between those dates, it was pretty hopeless. Outside of these times, women were only allowed minimal contact with men. Our main character, Princess Amelia Ivanhoe in The Duke Not Taken, pays the limitations of the grouse season little mind. Having been paired with the illustrious matchmaker to the town to help her find a suitable duke, she's introduced to many eligible and wealthy bachelors, but there is no spark until she meets the Duke of Marley. They loathe each other, so why can't they stop thinking about each other? As you can imagine, people were somewhat reserved in the Victorian era, and public displays of affection or interest were a no-no. The Victorians used more subtle ways of communicating their intentions, including having a secret code language when using a fan. Fanning slow meant married, and drawing across the cheek meant I love you. For gay men, wearing a green carnation on your lapel was a secret, subtle hint that you were a man who loved other men, inspired by Oscar Wilde and his friends. In the book The Gentleman's Book of Vices by Jess Everly, we explore similar themes of forbidden love between two men, the secrets they're forced to keep, and the decisions they must make. In Regency dating, young ladies who wish to keep a pristine reputation could never be alone with a man. If a couple were found to be in a compromising situation, the expectation would be for them to marry to save them both from scandal. But of course, life isn't that simple and, well, people aren't that well behaved, resulting in many unconventional and unsuited marriages, some of which have made history. The romantic novel Compromised into a Scandalous Marriage was inspired by such a true life story. After stumbling upon some 19th century documents in the Dominican Republic's National Archives, author Lydia San Andres was moved by the story of a man who was forced to sign a marriage contract under the threat of imprisonment. It's thought that he eventually got an annulment from the person who tricked him into marriage, but this left Lydia wondering, if this were a romance, how hard would it be for these people to get along after that? If that's not enough compromised marriage reading, I would also suggest How to Cheat the Marriage Mark by Millie Adams. Make sure to bookmark chapter 19 for a rather saucy bathtub scene. Between the late 19th century and World War II, a flood of dollar princesses flocked to England looking for love. In return for a coveted title, they offered their much-needed wealth to an aristocracy desperate for cash. And along the way, they helped change British royalty forever, including the lives of the modern-day heirs to the British throne. May the Best Duke Win by Paulia Belgado is set in this fascinating time of transatlantic love. In the book, American heiress Kate Mason loves being a rail engineer, yet her father demands she marries an English aristocrat. She plans to accept any noble who will allow her to pursue her railway ambitions. However, the Duke she falls for is shrouded in family scandal. So why does being with him feel so right? A less common way of finding a partner in the 18th century was through matrimonial advertisements. Although dating apps were yet far from existence, local ads were sometimes used by women as a way to find a partner outside of their usual social circle. Unfortunately, few women from that era had such control over their love lives. Many had arranged marriages and betrothals to men they barely knew, orchestrated through their family or even royalty. I enjoyed reading The Duke's Defiant Cinderella by Parker J. Cole, which transported me into Paris in this Louis XVI Cinderella romance. The main character, Lilas Moreau, wants to gain independence from a secret marriage contract with her betrothed. However, summons from the Queen may mean they're forced to continue their charade. If you love historical romance, be sure to let us know what you're enjoying at the moment and look out for these wonderful reads.